Hi, today we're going to talk about the tools and why I use them. I'm going to start off with spudgers. The reason why I use spudgers, some of these I made so I didn't have to redo it, but it's pretty much the same concept. This is a spudger, a wooden popsicle stick, and then this is a angled spudger popsicle stick. This is another specialty tool with a popsicle stick. And then this is a regular popsicle stick. And then this is an angled spudger. I use these for removing ribbon cables. It's the same thing. Here's another spudger. Cell phone repair. And then here's spudgers I bought. Take these, they got a hook on them, get a little pry action going on them. It's all for ribbon cables, for cell phones and computers. This thing here, these are great for trying to get into an old big PC, like an all-in-one PC. I use these pry tools here. Pry tool, if you want to take and, well, I don't really use this one anyway, but it came with it. I mainly use it to kind of help get something open. See, this is the end I use with the flat end, and then I use that and I go running across the clips so they unlock. These are the three I mostly use right here. This can get you into an all-in-one computer. This helps along with the process, along with this little tongue depressor looking thing. Yeah, that's what I use there. I also use these metal ones I use for cell phone repair, all-in-one computers too. This one here I use for, you know, kind of trying to pry up and get underneath some, you know, adhesive or something like that, and you kind of has a cutting action kind of thing on that one. And then this one's kind of the same way. It's got a spatula looking thing. And then this one's some tweezers. And then here's a chisel looking thing to get up underneath a glued down battery on a phone. And then here's a little thing to help get up some cables or something that's in a wedge. This is something if I need a poke or scoop. It's like a little poker. And then this here is a knife looking thing to try to cut adhesive or get underneath it. And then this is kind of got a scoop thing going on. And then this is a little spatula. I use that to get into all-in-one computers and phones. It helps me pry up just right. And that's for that. And here's some tweezers, some stainless steel tweezers to put to seat certain kinds of pinouts. Like if I work on an older computer with CD-ROMs with little pinouts or something like that, I use these tweezers for that. And then here's another spudger, metal spudger for cell phones and computers I use to open up stuff with. A whole bunch of Phillips heads. Y'all know what that is. That's just basic necessity screwdriver. ESD safe tweezers, getting stuff off the board. You know, try to reseat something. These are the ones I really use right here. Is the flat end ones. I like these. You go like that right there. Yeah, that's one I really use. And then some of them they got all janked up. I use guitar picks. I got a whole bunch of them from my local Radio Shack. I use them to help get underneath some glue to open up a phone. Fluke thermometer. The reason why I use this is to test the thermal processors, and I test the heat of a heat sink and see if it's too hot. If it's over a certain amount of degrees, I would recommend a better fan supply. So that's what I do is I check the fan, the cooling of the fan, and make sure the fan is working properly and the heat sink is efficient for that processor. Cell phone pry tool, open up older cell phones. You got to be careful though. You might rip a ribbon cable inside with this one because the newer phones are kind of different. And these are for older phones, but it might still work with certain model phones. Kilowatt voltage meter that measures the voltage that's going into your computer to find out how much voltage. To make sure your power supply is really bad. It'll tell you how many volts it's pulling, or say if it's a laptop or on a computer, it tells you how many volts, and if it's not working accurately, it could be the power supply or some other component in the computer, and you can kind of figure out what it is from this. I use this to figure out power supply problems mostly. Suction cups for opening up certain computers, like some of those high-end Apple desktop, like the iMacs. I use these for heat sinks. Them heat sinks can get all gunked up if you don't properly maintenance them. Now, anyhow, these are ESD safe brushes. They're good for heat sinks and stuff like that. I mainly use them for heat sinks and scrubbing heat sinks. It's kind of like how you brush your teeth. And I use it for approved static control. It says it right there, anesthetic. And then I take it, I mostly clean heat sinks with these, and fans. Heat sinks and fans is what I mostly clean those with. That's what that's for. Anesthetic gloves to prevent anesthetic discharge. But I mainly use these anesthetic gloves. It has a nice rubber padded bottom on it, and it's less likely to have an anesthetic discharge onto the device. Problem is, when I go to put on a processor, I might get some thermal paste accidentally on my fingertip here, and I have to make sure there ain't none when I'm continuing with my computer work. Anesthetic grounding cable. I made this little grounding cable to extend a cable to something like a grounding station that I got. And then power supply tester. I use this to test the 4-volt and all the pinouts in the computer, and I test it. So when I go in there and I test it, and it tells me, okay, you got your 5-volt rails aren't showing up, and then you got a problem with the power supply. That's how I use to test power supply issues. And it has SATA power to test SATA, and then here's your Molex. Test all that and make sure your computer's functioning properly. Anesthetic wristband. More and more videos I see on YouTube, people are not wearing anesthetic wristbands, and that's kind of concerning to me, but hey, well, people are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want to lose my stuff. The duct tape I just showed you. All these screws I sort through to use. Cellular phone. Cell phone screws in case they get all worn down and jank. And then that's what I use these for, is cell phone screws. When I had to repair my sister-in-law's phone, I had it stocked up on all this stuff. And then, yeah, and then here's these, in case I got to get into a Torx-based system. So here's the Torxes, and they're extra long dated, so I can get down into something, or crosswing, and all that good stuff. Ooh-ah. The anesthetic field mat I got for 24 bucks at Radio Shack. At my local Radio Shack, they're still around, and I go in there and buy resistors and stuff for electronic repair. Here's a service kit. You put your chips on it, stay grounded. Like when you go somewhere and you need to ground your components, this is what I'd use. And I got these little 2 ground ear pins. You got one for your wristband and one that goes into the grounded casing somewhere. And then you just go after it. Got a nice pocket in there so you can store stuff you need. This multimeter. And here are some wires I rigged up just for basic testing batteries and stuff I need to test. I use this multimeter because I need to test the resistance. I test motherboards with this, like resistors and the capacitors and all that, to make sure that the motherboard has failed. And this is how you test it for everything. It's cool, it's got a flashlight in it. So, Amprobe, I recommend these. I recommend Fluke. But if you can't afford it, go with Amprobe or something like Mostech. Those two are pretty good. But anyhow, that concludes my video, and thanks for watching, and have a great day.